Hi again, and welcome to the next video of the fifth section, Program Structure and Broadview Skeleton. In the previous video, we've learned about external library requirements. In this video, we will learn how to build the broad modular structure for the program. As usual, we keep the data structure, audio-related logic, and the presentation logic in three separate files. Therefore, we will create three separate files named model.py, player.py, and view.py. Let's create an empty model class and an empty player class in their respective files. This is the code for 5.01-model.py. Here's the code for 5.01-player.py. Next, let's create the view class. We will leave the model and player classes empty for now. However, we will complete this iteration by coding the majority of the view elements for the player. Let's begin by importing the required modules in the view class like this code. Also, import the blank model and player classes in the view namespace. However, since we do not want to mix the logic with its representation, we do not import view in the model class. In short, the model class knows nothing about how its data will be presented to the front-end user. Now, let's create the top-level window. Also, we'll create instances of the model and player classes and pass them as arguments to the view class. Now that the boilerplate code is written, let's start coding the actual view class. The _init_ method should look familiar to you by now. The final line of the _init_ calls a method called create_GUI, which is responsible for the creation of the entire GUI. The create_GUI method, in turn, simply calls 5 different methods, where each method is responsible for the creation of different sections of the GUI. We also made the root window non-resizable by adding root.resizable, width equals false, height equals false, to the code. We will not reproduce the entire code that creates the GUI, since we have coded similar widgets in the past. But all of these 5 methods, when combined, create the GUI like this. For the sake of separation, we've also marked the 4 sections differently in the preceding example. The 5th method creates the right-click context menu and is not visible here. The code used to create all of these GUI elements should be familiar to you by now. However, note a few things about the code. All the images used in the preceding code have been stored in a separate folder named Icons. We've used the Grid Geometry Manager to place all the elements on the top-level window. The top display section creates a canvas widget and places an overlay image using the canvas.create_image method. The currently playing text and the timer displayed in the top display have been created by using the canvas.create_text method. The coordinates used to place these elements have been decided on a trial and error basis. As a reminder, the canvas coordinates are measured from the top left corner. The button frame section simply creates buttons and uses images instead of text. The button frame section also uses a TTK scale widget, which can be used as a volume slider. This has been created by using this code. The from and to values for the scale widget have been chosen as 0.0 and 1.0 because these are the numbers that the Pyglet library uses to denote the minimum and maximum volume, which will be seen in the upcoming section. The listbox section creates a playlist by using the tk-enter listbox widget, which uses this code. The select mode equals extended option in these code means that this list box will allow multiple list items to be selected at once. If this line is omitted, the default behavior of the list box widget is to allow only a single selection at a time. The active style equals none option means that we do not want to underline the selected item. The list box section is attached to the scroll bar widget, which is similar to what we have done in the earlier sections. The bottom frame section adds a few image buttons as we did earlier. It also creates 3 radio button widgets using a for loop. Finally, note that we have completely skipped the creation of the seek bar, as it is a custom widget that is not natively defined in tk-enter. This is something we will create in a dedicated section of its own. The listbox widget offers these 4 selection modes via the select mode option. Single. This allows only a single row to be selected at a time. Browse, the default mode. This is similar to single, but it allows you to move a selection by dragging the mouse. Multiple. This allows for multiple selections by clicking on items one at a time. Extended. This allows for the selection of multiple range of items using the Shift and Control keys. In addition to creating all of these widgets, we've also added a command callback to most of these widgets. These command callbacks currently point to these empty, non-functional methods. None of these methods are functional now. We will end the iteration here, as there are a few other things that we need to do before we can think of making the widgets functional. Awesome! In this video, we've successfully learned about the program structure and Broadview skeleton. In the next video, we'll see how to decide the data structure and create the player class.